So something today finally happened that I thought, it eluded me all my life, and I never thought it would happen. I've actually seen a UFO today. Well, a UFO in the true sense. Now, before I describe what it looked like, the circumstances surrounding this are pretty bizarre. Uh, I had posted on Facebook yesterday that I didn't believe in aliens, and I believed that the UFO phenomena was part of basically the continuation of folklore culture. There's no difference between alien abduction stories and fairy abduction stories, and that what we call UFOs and spaceships and alien visitors are just a continuation of fairy fate. Brought into a modern technological format. Even Whitley Strieber, in his book Communion, has stated he called them visitors, and in his second book Transformation directly connected them to the fairy experience of the Celtic world. And so it's, excuse me, I got a dreadful cold, it's been freezing here. So it's also interesting in the context too that I've been very much in a kind of a magical state at the moment. I have been basically doing a lot of incantations of Hermetic and Egyptian text just to see. Now, I like everything else. I experiment. I just want to see if there's anything to it. So I've been very kind of aware of sort of like Egyptian archetypes at the moment. This morning, going to work, there was an incredibly intense red dawn. And as it was coming up, it lit the clouds on the other side, and so I'd normally think it's the battle between Horus and Seth, and slitting each other's throats in the metaphor, but the blood was on both sides. So I was like, just thinking to myself, like, both Seth and Horus have, had a stalemate today. And so I went to work, and it's Sunday. I'm coming out at the end of the day about 4 o'clock, and because we had very cold weather here, I was just looking up at the sky casually over Sligo Bay to see if there was any snow clouds coming in. It was a beautiful blue sky, except for in the distance there was kind of pinky kind of end of day clouds over the Atlantic, and I was looking over Sligo Bay towards the Donegal direction, and just carrying a box across the car park, and suddenly I see this light in the sky. Now it's shaped like this, like kind of an elongated egg, but it was, at first I thought it was Venus, but Venus is on the wrong side of the sky. It wasn't that bright anyway, and it wasn't that kind of light. It was egg shaped, and well, elongated egg shape, more like a pill but more tapered on the edge, so like that kind of thing. And it was about 5,000 feet up, and it was about 4 or 5 miles away. So it immediately knew it wasn't an aircraft, because this, where I live, is on the direct path between Europe and America for transatlantic flights. I know what they all leave. They all leave aircraft trails behind them. It's, you can just see them going into the Atlantic and going around the curvature of the Earth. It's a phenomenal place for the plane spotting and for observing, the natural world. So it was also moving too slow to be a plane. It would fall out of the sky. It was very, very slow, moving from, let me see, it was from east to west. So it was heading out to the Atlantic away from Sligo Bay. It was not a helicopter, because, well, the way it looked. Firstly, the light that was emanating from it wasn't like electric light. It was more like phosphorescent light. Those like luminous things you pull and you put them together and they make it light up in the dark. Or those models when you were a kid, you bought them and they had parts that lit up in the dark, like the horror models. It lit up like that, but not the green color. It was white. It was very pale, very non-incandescent looking light. But it wasn't like fluorescent or anything. The whole thing was covered in it. There was no mechanical or machine-like structure. It was purely just a elongated egg with a semi well tapered ends, and it moved across the sky very slowly, and right in front of me it just went off. It just boom, it was gone. Now, if I was to give an impression of it, it was not a machine. It looked more like an animal. It was more like a jellyfish or a microbe, or something like that, a virus you would see under a microscope. It had that kind of feel about it. the light was not pulsating. It was almost like that kind of thing, and but not very intense. It was like a flickering mist in a perfect, structural shape, and then it just was gone like that. And so it was definitely a UFO, unidentified flying object in the true and literal sense. Uh, I think I probably invoked it. It was probably a tulpa or a result of conjurations, mainly because yesterday I got into not a heated debate, but we had a strong discussion yesterday, 2 days ago, about the nature of unidentified flying objects, and I said I've never seen one. I've never ever seen one, but I know they're not aliens, because there's no proof that aliens have ever visited this planet. And then we were talking about, like, how people are mind controlled to say, well, isn't it a bit, narcissistic to say we're the only race in the universe? But that's not the same. That's like saying there's polar bears in the North Pole. Why aren't there polar bears in Africa? That's that kind of argument. There's a big difference between aliens being on the other side of the universe, the other side of the galaxy, and them being here on Earth. There's two different concepts. Do not confuse one with the other. This thing was not in any way a machine. It was not. It didn't even seem. But what I felt was, and I know this sounds really weird, is that it was there for me. So I think it was either a tulpa I created, or it was some kind of conjuration because of this. Maybe, Egyptian archetypes. Like, I was reading. Actually, I stayed up very last night reading an invocation to Nut, the Egyptian goddess of the heavens with all the stars on her body. So it may have been that, but it was there. It was real. I saw it. It was a UFO in the truest sense, and that's it. I finally done it. I never expected it would ever have done it, but it's finally happened. I never ever expected I would ever see a UFO. I just thought it would just not be by destiny. I've had, it would not happen for me, but lo and behold, it's happened. And I'd be interested to hear comments about this. I have heard stories and actually seen videos of people who can bring UFOs in like this into the sky for live TV shows when they've been asked, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're aliens. Although I'm not, I'm not anti the idea of aliens. I just need proof. I totally subscribe to the idea that these are related to the fairy, demonic, jinn type telepathic experience. I don't, or effects on human consciousness, interdimensionals. I do not believe in the alien stuff, and I still don't. But however, I could have been proven wrong today. Maybe they could have showed up to say, well, yeah, we're here. Or maybe it could have been an invocation. But anyway, it's official 100%. Me, Thomas, has finally seen, at 52 years old, an unidentified flying object. And, well, that's it.